Have you ever stopped to wonder why sometimes, when we add more of a good thing to a system in an effort to make it better, we somehow, inexplicably, end up making it worse? This deeply counterintuitive and fascinating phenomenon, which has come to be known as the paradox of enrichment, fundamentally challenges our most basic and cherished assumptions about what it means to create improvement and stability in the world around us. In our story tonight, we will explore how a simple, ecological observation, a curious question about the balance of nature, snowballed into a powerful and universal principle that calls into question the very nature of progress itself. From the intricate dance of predators and their prey to the complex machinery of our own economic policies, prepare to have your understanding of how complex systems truly function turn gently upside down. Nature, in its infinite and often inscrutable complexity, frequently presents us with the most delicate and beautiful balances, elegant systems of equilibrium that can seem to defy our simple understanding. One of the most classic and elegant examples of such a balance exists in the intricate relationship between predators and their prey, a dynamic dance of life and death that has fascinated ecologists for generations. Picture, if you will, a serene and sprawling forest ecosystem where majestic wolves and graceful deer coexist in what appears to be a state of perfect, timeless harmony. The wolves, with their keen senses and their sophisticated pack mentality, serve to keep the deer population in check, while the deer, swift and numerous, provide the essential sustenance that the predators need to survive and raise their young. This ecological equilibrium, however, is far from static or fixed. It is a living, breathing, dynamic system, one that is constantly adjusting and readjusting itself to maintain a precarious and ever-shifting balance. The population of the deer, for instance, naturally fluctuates in response to a whole host of factors, such as the seasonal availability of food, the severity of weather conditions, and of course, the constant pressure of predation from the wolves. Simultaneously, the wolf population fluidly responds to these very changes in the abundance of their prey, creating a powerful and elegant feedback loop that has been meticulously honed and perfected over millennia of evolution. As humans, we often observe these intricate natural systems with a powerful mixture of profound awe and a deep-seated, well-intentioned concern. Our innate, almost primal desire to improve and to optimize our surroundings frequently leads us to contemplate interventions in these delicate ecosystems. We look upon the forest and we ask ourselves, could we somehow enhance this balance? Could we perhaps create an even more abundant, a more thriving ecosystem simply by providing some additional resources? This well-intentioned impulse to enrich natural systems is certainly not without precedent. Throughout our history, humans have attempted to manipulate ecosystems for various reasons, often with the noble and admirable goal of conservation or habitat restoration. One of the most common approaches has been to try and increase the resources available to prey species, operating under the seemingly logical assumption that a more abundant prey population would surely lead to a healthier, more robust ecosystem overall. Consider, for instance, the widespread practice of implementing supplemental feeding programs for deer in certain regions of the world. Wildlife managers have put these programs in place with the very best of intentions, aiming to support struggling deer populations during harsh winters, or in areas where their natural food sources have been depleted by human activity. The rationale behind such interventions seems perfectly straightforward and logical. By providing additional nutrition, we can help more deer survive and reproduce. This, in turn, would ensure a more stable and plentiful food source for their predators, thereby maintaining, and perhaps even improving, the ecosystem's overall balance. Similarly, in aquatic ecosystems, dedicated scientists and conservationists have experimented with the idea of nutrient enrichment as a way to boost primary productivity. By carefully adding nutrients, like nitrogen and phosphorus, to lakes or coastal areas, they aim to stimulate the growth of algae, which forms the very base of the aquatic food chain. The theory was that this enrichment would cascade upwards, leading to more abundant fish populations, which would benefit both the ecosystem itself and the human fishing industries that rely upon it. And at first, these interventions often showed incredibly promising results in the short term. In the case of the supplemental feeding programs, the deer populations did indeed increase, often dramatically, in many areas where they were implemented. The animals appeared healthier, they had higher survival rates during the difficult winter months, and they demonstrated improved reproductive success. Likewise, in the nutrient-enriched aquatic systems, researchers observed initial boosts in the biomass of algae, and subsequently in the populations of the organisms that were higher up the food chain. The apparent and immediate success of these interventions seemed to validate our human impulse to improve upon nature. Conservationists and wildlife managers celebrated the increased abundance of these prey species, believing that they had discovered a reliable method to enhance ecosystem productivity and long-term stability. However, as is so often the case with incredibly complex systems, the true, hidden consequences of these well-intentioned actions would only become apparent with the passage of time. As we delve deeper into the long-term outcomes of these ecological enrichment efforts, we find ourselves confronting a perplexing and deeply unsettling phenomenon, one that challenges our intuitive understanding of how ecosystem dynamics truly function. This phenomenon, which would eventually come to be known as the paradox of enrichment, forces us to completely reconsider our assumptions about the relationship between resource abundance and ecosystem stability. The term paradox of enrichment was first coined by the American ecologist Michael Rosenzweig in a groundbreaking paper he published in the journal Science back in 1971. Rosenzweig used mathematical models to demonstrate how increasing the carrying capacity of prey populations could, counterintuitively, lead to profound instability in predator-prey systems. His revolutionary work would go on to reshape our understanding of ecosystem dynamics and the often unintended consequences of human interventions in natural systems. As we transition from the initial optimism surrounding these ecological enrichment efforts to the unexpected and often disastrous outcomes that followed, we find ourselves on the cusp of a profound shift in our ecological thinking. The paradox of enrichment serves as a powerful and humbling cautionary tale, reminding us that even our most noble and well-intentioned efforts to improve the natural systems around us can have far-reaching and often unforeseen consequences. In the complex and often delicate world of ecological systems, the road to disaster is, paradoxically, often paved with the very best of intentions. As we delve deeper into the intricate dynamics of predator-prey relationships, we will begin to uncover the hidden mechanism that explains why adding more resources to a system can sometimes trigger a devastating chain reaction, a sequence of events that ends not in abundance, but in widespread population crashes for everyone involved. What unforeseen consequences truly await when we attempt to improve upon nature's own intricate designs? The initial stages of what ecologists call enrichment often present a beautiful and deceptive picture of thriving abundance. Imagine a lush, green meadow teeming with rabbits. When we, with our good intentions, introduce an influx of additional food resources, the rabbit population, freed from its natural limitations, begins to swell in response. They multiply with incredible speed, their numbers increasing exponentially as they take full advantage of the seemingly endless and effortless supply of nourishment. This sudden surge in the prey population, in turn, creates a veritable feast for their predators, the foxes, who suddenly find themselves living in a world of incredible plenty. As the rabbit population flourishes, the foxes experience their own corresponding population boom. The sheer abundance of available prey allows the fox populations to grow exponentially as well, with more individuals surviving to adulthood and reproducing far more successfully than they otherwise would. To an outside observer, this rapid increase in both predator and prey numbers might initially appear to be a wonderful outcome, a clear sign of a healthy, vibrant, and perfectly balanced ecosystem. However, this apparent success, this beautiful picture of prosperity, tragically masks an impending crisis that threatens to destabilize the entire system in a fundamental way. So where is the hidden danger in this seeming paradise? To see it, we must look beyond what our eyes can observe in the short term and delve into the mathematical models that underpin these complex predator-prey dynamics. These models, pioneered by brilliant ecologists and mathematicians, reveal the deeply precarious nature of this newly enriched ecosystem. They show us that in a typical, unenriched system, such as our rabbits and foxes, the populations of both species naturally fluctuate over time. They rise and fall in a rhythmic, predictable dance that maintains a general balance. When the prey numbers are high, the predator population has more food and begins to increase. This, in turn, leads to more predation and a subsequent decrease in prey numbers, which then causes the predator population to decline. And so the cycle continues in a natural rhythm. However, the introduction of all those extra resources dramatically disrupts this delicate equilibrium. The models demonstrate that this act of enrichment can dramatically amplify these natural oscillations, pushing them to dangerous and unsustainable extremes. To understand this, we need to think about a crucial ecological concept known as carrying capacity. In ecology, carrying capacity refers to the absolute maximum population size that a specific environment can sustain indefinitely, given the available resources like food and water. Under normal circumstances, both predator and prey populations are naturally limited by the carrying capacity of their shared environment. But when we artificially introduce additional resources for the prey, we dramatically increase the carrying capacity for that species, allowing for that rapid, unchecked population growth. This increase in the prey's carrying capacity then has a powerful cascading effect on the predator population. As the numbers of prey surge to historic highs, the predators experience a temporary and artificial increase in their own carrying capacity. They reproduce more successfully, and their population grows far beyond what the ecosystem would typically be able to support in the long term. This dramatic overshoot of the predator population, growing far too large in relation to the prey's own ability to reproduce, is the very crux of the paradox of enrichment. The tension in the system now builds to a breaking point. The once abundant rabbit population begins to feel the immense pressure of this newly inflated fox population. The rabbits, despite their own rapid reproduction, begin to struggle to maintain their numbers in the face of such intense and overwhelming predation. The entire system now teeters on the very brink of collapse, with the predators unknowingly pushing their own food source towards utter extinction. And then, the resolution comes, not as a gentle rebalancing, but as a sudden and catastrophic crash in the prey population. The foxes, having grown so numerous, begin to deplete the rabbit population much faster than it can possibly recover. This severe overexploitation leads to a rapid and shocking decline in rabbit numbers, which in turn leaves an insufficient amount of prey to support the now massive fox population. The consequences of this crash are dire for both species. As the prey population plummets towards zero, the predators face a severe and sudden food shortage. The foxes, now far too numerous for the available resources, experience a dramatic and devastating population crash of their own. The once thriving ecosystem, which we tried to improve, now descends into chaos, with both predator and prey populations collapsing to levels far below where they started before our well-intentioned enrichment ever occurred. This ecological phenomenon serves as a powerful and universal metaphor for what can happen in any complex system. It reveals how our attempts to improve or enrich a system, without fully understanding its underlying dynamics and feedback loops, can paradoxically lead to its utter collapse. And as we will soon see, the consequences of such a collapse do not stop with just the predator and the prey. They ripple outwards, affecting the entire ecosystem in ways we might never expect. In the quiet aftermath of an enrichment-induced collapse, the ecosystem finds itself in a state of profound and jarring disarray. The once abundant prey population, which had flourished so spectacularly due to the sudden influx of resources, now lies decimated. Its numbers a mere fraction of what they once were. This sudden and dramatic scarcity of prey reverberates up through the food chain, setting in motion a series of powerful ecological repercussions that extend far beyond the initial predator-prey relationship we first observed. To understand this cascading phenomenon, Ecologists use a powerful concept known as a trophic cascade. Can you picture a line of dominoes, perfectly arranged? A trophic cascade occurs when a change in the population of just one species at one level of the food chain triggers a chain reaction, a domino effect that tumbles down through all the other levels, potentially transforming the dynamics of the entire ecosystem. In the case of our enrichment-induced collapse, the abrupt decline in the prey population acts as the first domino to fall. As their primary food source becomes scarce, the predator populations, which had grown so large and numerous during the brief period of abundance, now face a severe and immediate challenge. The rapid population growth they experienced during the boom times quickly becomes unsustainable. Having multiplied their numbers far beyond the ecosystem's long-term carrying capacity, they now find themselves in an incredibly precarious position. The ecological mechanism at play involves these predators having taken advantage of the abundant prey so effectively that they multiplied their own population beyond the ecosystem's sustainable limits. This overexploitation of their primary resource leads to a situation where they consume their prey much faster than the prey can possibly reproduce, which in turn exacerbates and accelerates the population crash. The repercussions of this profound predator-prey imbalance, however, extend much further than just these two species. Think for a moment about the hidden subtle roles that certain prey species play in their environment. What happens when a species that was crucial for dispersing seeds or for pollinating certain types of plants suddenly vanishes from the landscape? The plant populations themselves begin to change, altering the very foundation of the ecosystem. And what happens when the main predator population crashes as a result of starvation? This may allow for the sudden proliferation of smaller predators or other competing species, which further disrupts the delicate, established balance of the entire food web. These ecosystem-wide changes can then manifest in the most unexpected and surprising ways. For example, the loss of a keystone predator species might result in the uncontrolled overgrazing of certain types of vegetation by the herbivores that remain, which can then lead to increased soil erosion and even change the way water flows through the local landscape. In an aquatic ecosystem, the collapse of a key fish population could lead to massive, uncontrolled algal blooms, as the smaller organisms that normally keep the algae in check are no longer present in sufficient numbers to do their job. The long-term consequences of these ecological disturbances can be incredibly severe and far-reaching. An ecosystem that has taken thousands or even millions of years to evolve its intricate web of relationships can be fundamentally and perhaps permanently altered in just a matter of decades. The carefully balanced interdependencies between species can unravel with shocking speed when subjected to such intense and sudden disruptions. Moreover, the effects of these disturbances are not necessarily confined to the immediate area where the collapse occurred. Migratory species, for instance, may carry the impact of these local ecosystem changes to distant regions. A sharp decline in fish populations in one specific feeding ground, for example, could dramatically affect the health of seabird colonies thousands of miles away, as these birds rely on that specific location during their annual migrations. And once this delicate balance is broken, can we simply put it back together again? The difficulty of restoring a destabilized ecosystem cannot be overstated. It is a truly Herculean task. Because of the interconnected nature of all the species, the damage from the initial collapse can propagate through multiple ecological levels, making a simple fix nearly impossible. Our attempts at restoration often reveal the profound limitations of our own understanding of these complex ecosystem dynamics. An ecosystem is not a static machine that can be easily repaired. It is a living, constantly evolving entity. A restored ecosystem may never truly resemble its pre-disturbance state. Instead, it might settle into a new, different kind of equilibrium that reflects the altered conditions and the new species compositions. The immense challenges of ecosystem restoration highlight the profound importance of preventing these collapses in the first place. The paradox of enrichment serves as a stark and powerful reminder that a more holistic approach is absolutely necessary, one that takes into account the intricate relationships between species, the carrying capacity of the ecosystem, and the potential for these cascading effects to ripple throughout the entire food web. And as we are about to discover, the very same principles that can cause a forest ecosystem to unravel can also be found at work in our own complex human systems, offering valuable and urgent insights for our modern world. The profound principles underlying the paradox of enrichment, which were initially observed in the delicate dance of ecological systems, extend far beyond the natural world. As we now shift our focus from the relationship between predators and their prey to the complex, intricate systems that we humans have created, a series of striking parallels begins to emerge. These parallels challenge our most basic understanding of the complex dynamics at play in the realms of economics, finance, and social policy. It is a humbling realization that the very same paradoxical forces that can destabilize an entire ecosystem may also be silently at work, undermining our institutions and our most well-intentioned interventions. Let us first consider the world of economics, where policies are so often designed with the noble intention of stimulating growth and creating widespread prosperity. Yet, these very policies can, paradoxically, lead to profound systemic instability, mirroring the ecological paradox's mechanism of destabilizing systems through what appear to be purely positive interventions. Think of large-scale economic stimulus packages, for instance, which are often implemented during periods of recession or economic stagnation. These interventions are directly analogous to the resource enrichment we saw in the ecosystem. They aim to inject vast amounts of capital and resources into the economy in order to spur growth and create jobs. However, much like the unintended consequences we observed in the natural world, this kind of economic stimulus can sometimes produce unexpected and deeply negative outcomes. The sudden influx of capital can create artificial market conditions, which can lead to overproduction, dangerous asset bubbles, or patterns of economic growth that are simply unsustainable in the long run. For example, expansionary monetary policies may provide a temporary boost to economic indicators, but they can also lead to serious long-term problems, such as runaway inflation, the devaluation of currency, or an increase in income inequality. And what about our incredibly complex financial systems? Here, we find another fascinating and powerful manifestation of the enrichment paradox in a concept known as moral hazard. Moral hazard occurs when individuals or large institutions are protected from the negative consequences of their own actions, which in turn leads them to engage in far riskier behavior than they otherwise would. In the context of our financial systems, this often takes the form of government bailouts or vast insurance schemes that are designed to provide a safety net for major financial institutions. While these safety nets are intended to stabilize the financial system and protect against a systemic collapse, they can, paradoxically, encourage much riskier behavior among those same financial institutions. The banks and other financial entities, knowing that they are considered too big to fail and will likely be rescued by the government in the event of a crisis, may be tempted to take on excessive, dangerous risks in the pursuit of higher profits. This dynamic mirrors our ecological paradox almost perfectly. Just as the predator population grows beyond sustainable levels in response to an overabundance of prey, so too may financial actors engage in unsustainable practices when they are shielded from the natural consequences of their actions. The global financial crisis of 2008 serves as a stark and painful example of this very phenomenon in action. The implicit guarantee of government bailouts for the largest financial institutions had contributed to a culture of excessive risk-taking that ultimately destabilized the entire global financial system. This powerful paradox even extends to our most well-intentioned social policies, those programs designed to alleviate poverty and improve the living conditions of the most vulnerable among us. These programs, while often providing crucial and immediate relief, can sometimes inadvertently create new dependencies or disrupt existing social structures in unexpected ways. For instance, unconditional cash transfer programs while effective in addressing immediate needs, can sometimes lead to unintended consequences, such as reduced participation in the local labor force, or creating disincentives for people to develop new skills for long-term self-sufficiency. Similarly, large-scale food aid programs in developing countries, while absolutely vital for addressing immediate hunger crises, can potentially undermine local agricultural markets and create long-term dependencies on foreign assistance, making it harder for local farmers to compete. In each of these cases, the interventions, which on the surface appear to be purely beneficial, can echo the destabilizing effects of the ecological enrichment paradox. The parallels between these complex human systems and the ecological dynamics we first explored are truly striking. In both cases, the introduction of additional resources or protections without a deep and holistic understanding of the entire system can lead to unexpected and dangerous systemic imbalances. The interconnected nature of our human systems mirrors the complex web of relationships we find in ecosystems. A change in one sector of the economy or society can have far-reaching and often unforeseen consequences in many others. Understanding these parallels can provide invaluable insights for policymakers and system designers. The lessons learned from the paradox of enrichment in ecology underscore the profound need for a more nuanced and holistic approach to our interventions in human systems. Instead of focusing solely on maximizing a single variable, such as GDP growth or poverty reduction, we must learn to consider the broader, systemic implications of our actions, always aiming for balance, resilience, and long-term stability. As we grapple with the increasingly complex global challenges of our time, a new and powerful approach to problem-solving emerges, one that promises to revolutionize our understanding of the deeply interconnected systems that shape our world. This approach is called systems thinking, and it offers us a holistic lens through which we can begin to examine the intricate web of relationships that define our reality, revealing the hidden connections and unexpected consequences that more traditional methods of thinking often overlook. At its very core, systems thinking is a comprehensive and deeply insightful approach to problem solving that focuses on understanding the complex interconnections within a system rather than simply examining its individual parts in isolation. This methodology challenges us to expand our perspective, encouraging us to zoom out and consider the entire picture, rather than fixating on isolated, individual components. By doing so, systems thinking unveils the intricate dance of cause and effect that flows across multiple domains, offering profound insights that can transform how we tackle the world's most pressing issues. The principles that underlie systems thinking are both profound and far-reaching. Central to this approach is the recognition of what are known as feedback loops, which play a crucial role in shaping any system's behavior over time. Imagine these loops as hidden currents of cause and effect that are constantly flowing through a system. Some of these loops can be stabilizing, working to maintain a balance, while others can be destabilizing, amplifying small changes into massive ones, like the population booms and busts we saw in our ecological paradox. Understanding these feedback mechanisms is absolutely essential for predicting how our interventions might ripple through a system, potentially leading to those unintended and often unwelcome consequences. Another key aspect of systems thinking involves analyzing how the different components of a system interact with and influence each other to create what are called emergent behaviors. These are the surprising and often unpredictable outcomes that arise from the complex interactions within a system. Outcomes that you could never have guessed by just looking at the individual parts separately. This approach stands in stark contrast to our traditional linear methods of problem solving. Linear thinking often focuses on addressing the most obvious symptoms of a problem rather than its underlying causes, a strategy that can lead to short-term solutions that may inadvertently make the problem even worse in the long run. Systems thinking, on the other hand, encourages us to dig deeper, to uncover the root causes, and to consider the broader implications of our actions across various timescales and domains. One of the most powerful aspects of systems thinking is its ability to help us predict and prevent the very enrichment paradoxes we have been exploring. By considering the complex interplay of all the factors within a system, we can begin to anticipate potential unintended consequences before they ever occur. For instance, in the world of urban planning, a linear thinker might see traffic congestion and say, "Let's simply build more roads." But a systems thinker might reveal how this could paradoxically lead to even more traffic in the future due to a phenomenon known as induced demand. By modeling these complex interactions in advance, planners can explore alternative solutions that address the root causes of congestion rather than simply treating its symptoms. Similarly, in public health, systems thinking can help policymakers avoid the pitfalls of well-intentioned interventions that might inadvertently worsen health outcomes. For example, a systems analysis of a food subsidy program might reveal how subsidizing certain crops could lead to an increased consumption of processed foods, potentially contributing to higher rates of obesity and other related health issues down the line. Of course, despite its immense potential, applying systems thinking to real-world problems comes with its own significant challenges. One of the major hurdles is simply overcoming our natural human tendency to think in linear, reductionist ways. Our cognitive biases often lead us to seek simple, direct cause and effect relationships, even when we are dealing with incredibly complex systems. Breaking free from these ingrained patterns of thought requires a concerted effort and a willingness to embrace complexity. Another challenge lies in the sheer difficulty of fully mapping and understanding extremely complex systems, where the number of variables and interactions can be immense. Furthermore, the successful implementation of systems thinking often requires deep interdisciplinary collaboration, as complex problems rarely respect the boundaries of academic disciplines or organizational departments. Despite these challenges, systems thinking has been successfully applied across a wide range of fields, demonstrating its incredible versatility. In ecology, it has revolutionized our understanding of ecosystem dynamics, helping conservationists develop more effective strategies for preserving biodiversity. In economics, it has led to more sophisticated models of financial markets that help identify sources of systemic risk and inform regulatory policies. And in the field of social policy, systems thinking has helped policymakers develop more comprehensive approaches to addressing persistent social issues like poverty by considering the complex interplay of factors such as education, healthcare, and employment opportunities. As we look to the future, the value of systems thinking in addressing our most complex global challenges becomes increasingly apparent. Problems like climate change, global health security, and sustainable development are quintessential systems, problems that demand a holistic approach. As we grapple with these interconnected challenges, systems thinking provides us with the powerful framework we need to develop more resilient and sustainable solutions. While systems thinking offers us a powerful framework for understanding the world's complex interconnections, implementing it effectively requires more than just theoretical knowledge. The true challenge lies in proactively managing these intricate systems to avoid the treacherous waters of unintended consequences. This task is far from simple, as the very act of intervention, even with the best intentions, can potentially destabilize the system we are trying to improve. Proactive management in a complex system demands a deep and nuanced understanding of the interconnected nature of our ecological, economic, and social networks. It requires a truly holistic approach, one that considers not only the immediate and obvious effects of an intervention, but also its potential ripple effects across all the various components of the system. This comprehensive perspective is absolutely essential for anticipating potential unintended consequences and for developing wise strategies to mitigate them. One of the primary challenges in managing these complex systems is our limited ability to predict outcomes with any real degree of certainty. The sheer multitude of variables and their intricate, often hidden interactions make it incredibly difficult to foresee all the possible consequences of any single action. This deep uncertainty is compounded by the fact that complex systems often exhibit what is known as non-linear behavior, where even the smallest and most subtle changes can lead to disproportionately large and often surprising effects. To address this immense challenge, researchers and practitioners have turned to the power of advanced modeling and simulation techniques. Imagine being able to create a virtual representation of a complex system, a digital twin of a real-world ecosystem or economy. These powerful computational tools allow us to explore various what-if scenarios and their potential outcomes in a safe virtual environment before we ever intervene in the real world. By simulating different interventions and observing their effects on the system as a whole, decision-makers can gain invaluable insights into the potential consequences of their actions. For example, in the field of ecosystem management, sophisticated models can simulate the effects of introducing or removing a species, changing the availability of a resource, or altering environmental conditions. These simulations can help ecologists and conservationists identify potential tipping points or unexpected feedback loops that might lead to system instability. But these powerful models are not crystal balls. They are not infallible. The incredible complexity of our real-world systems often exceeds our ability to model them with perfect accuracy. And so, successful proactive management strategies must also incorporate the profound wisdom of humility, a principle that is embodied in an approach known as adaptive management. What does this mean? It involves a deep commitment to the continuous monitoring of a system, a profound flexibility in our decision-making, and a constant willingness to adjust our interventions based on the emerging real-world data and the system's responses. Adaptive management beautifully recognizes that our understanding of these complex systems is inherently incomplete, and that we must always be prepared to learn and adapt as we go. This strategy allows for necessary course corrections when unexpected outcomes arise, which greatly reduces the risk of catastrophic system failures. From this wise and humble approach, several key principles emerge to guide us. First and foremost is the central lesson of our story: more is not always better. We must resist the powerful temptation to always do more, and instead focus on understanding and maintaining the delicate balance that exists between a system's different components. Another crucial principle is the avoidance of drastic, unilateral interventions. Complex systems have often evolved over incredibly long periods to reach a state of relative stability, and sudden, large-scale changes can disrupt this balance in highly unpredictable ways. Instead, it is far wiser to consider implementing smaller, incremental changes that allow the system to adapt gradually and gracefully. We must also learn to value diversity and redundancy as essential elements for maintaining system stability. In ecological systems, biodiversity provides a natural resilience against environmental changes or disturbances. Similarly, in our own economic or social systems, a diversity of ideas, approaches, and resources can help buffer against unexpected shocks. Redundancy, which is often viewed as inefficient in traditional management paradigms, can provide the crucial backup systems that prevent small cascading failures from turning into catastrophic ones. Finally, none of this is possible without deep, interdisciplinary collaboration. Complex systems rarely conform to the neat boundaries of our academic disciplines or organizational departments. Addressing the challenges within these systems requires bringing together experts from various fields: urban planners, economists, ecologists, sociologists, and engineers, among others, to develop truly comprehensive management strategies. These strategies are not just theoretical concepts, they have practical applications across a vast range of fields. In wildlife management, conservation programs have successfully reintroduced predator species by carefully controlling the pace of introduction. In economic policy, some central banks have adopted a strategy of telegraphing gradual changes in interest rates to avoid sudden shocks to financial markets. As we look ahead, the application of these proactive management strategies holds immense promise for addressing some of our most pressing global challenges. Climate change, for instance, is a quintessential complex systems problem that requires exactly this kind of holistic, adaptive approach. By applying these principles, we can develop more effective and sustainable strategies for navigating the immense complexities of our interconnected world. The powerful principles of proactive management in complex systems have been put to the test across a wide variety of fields, yielding valuable insights into successful interventions that have managed to navigate the treacherous waters of enrichment paradoxes. While the theory we have discussed provides a solid foundation, it is these real-world successes that offer the most invaluable lessons in how to manage complex systems and avoid the pitfalls of unintended consequences. By examining these concrete examples, we can begin to illuminate a clear path to success. One of the most notable and celebrated triumphs over the paradox of enrichment comes from the realm of wildlife conservation, in the majestic landscape of Yellowstone National Park in the United States. In the early 20th century, the park's vibrant ecosystem had become severely imbalanced. Why? Because its keystone predator, the wolf, had been completely extirpated from the region. This led to a dramatic overabundance of elk, who then, without their natural predator, overgrazed the vegetation, fundamentally altering the entire landscape. The reintroduction of wolves back into the park in 1995 presented an immense and complex challenge. How could they restore this vital predator without triggering the very catastrophic population crashes or other unforeseen consequences that the paradox of enrichment predicts? The incredible success of this intervention lay in its carefully planned, patient, and gradual approach. Wildlife biologists and ecologists from various disciplines collaborated to develop a comprehensive strategy that considered multiple trophic levels and the potential ripple effects throughout the entire ecosystem. Instead of a massive, single release of a large number of wolves, they introduced a small number of wolves initially. This allowed them to closely monitor the effects and to apply the principles of adaptive management as the ecosystem slowly began to respond. This measured and thoughtful approach paid incredible dividends over time. The presence of the wolves not only began to regulate the elk population, but it also triggered a beautiful, cascading series of positive changes throughout the entire ecosystem. The vegetation began to rebound, which in turn provided new and better habitat for a diverse range of other species. Beaver populations, for instance, increased, and their dam-building activities altered the dynamics of streams, creating new and vibrant wetland areas. The entire ecosystem showed remarkable signs of increased resilience and biodiversity. The Yellowstone wolf reintroduction is a beautiful demonstration of several key principles for successfully navigating complex systems. First, it emphasizes the profound importance of thorough pre-intervention modeling and analysis. Second, it highlights the immense value of starting small and scaling up gradually. And third, it underscores the absolute necessity of ongoing monitoring and adaptive management. These principles allow the managers to avoid the potential pitfalls of the enrichment paradox while achieving their ambitious conservation goals. From the wilderness of Yellowstone, our next story takes us into the realm of economics and social policy, to the implementation of what are known as conditional cash transfer, or CCT, programs in Latin America. These programs aim to alleviate poverty by providing direct financial assistance to low-income families. But the great challenge here was how to design an intervention that would provide immediate and necessary relief, while also fostering long-term socio-economic improvements, all without creating dependency or disrupting local economic systems. Mexico's Progresa program, which was later renamed Oportunidades, stands out as a particularly successful example of this thoughtful approach. Launched in 1997, the program was designed from the ground up with a systems thinking perspective, considering the potential impacts on education, health, nutrition, and local economies. To avoid the pitfalls of unconditional aid, which can sometimes lead to reduced labor force participation or other market distortions, the Progresa program incorporated carefully calibrated conditions and incentives. The financial assistance was made contingent on the families meeting specific behavioral requirements, such as ensuring their children's regular school attendance or getting regular health checkups. The program's incredible success stemmed from several key factors. First, it was developed through a deep interdisciplinary collaboration between economists, social scientists, and public health experts. This diverse team was able to anticipate and plan for a wide range of potential outcomes and interactions within the complex social system. Second, the program was implemented with a robust evaluation component built in from the very start. This allowed for continuous monitoring and adjustment based on real-world, empirical evidence rather than on simple assumptions. Over time, the Progressa and Oportunidades programs demonstrated significant and lasting positive outcomes. They successfully increased school enrollment, improved health outcomes, and reduced poverty rates, all without creating the kind of dependency or market disruptions that are often associated with large-scale aid programs. The program's incredible success has since led to its replication and adaptation in numerous other countries around the world, showcasing how a well-designed, thoughtful intervention can successfully navigate the immense complexities of our human social systems and avoid the paradox of enrichment. The field of urban planning offers yet another compelling case study in triumphing over the paradox of enrichment. Our story now takes us to the city of Curitiba in Brazil, which, in the 1960s and 1970s, was facing the immense challenges of rapid and often chaotic urbanization. The city was growing so fast that it was struggling with crippling transportation issues, overwhelming waste management problems, and the rapid loss of its precious green spaces. The potential for enrichment paradoxes here was significant. For instance, a simple, linear solution like building more roads to ease traffic could have paradoxically led to even more congestion and severe environmental degradation as more people were incentivized to drive. But under the visionary leadership of the architect and urban planner Jaime Lerner, Curitiba chose a different and far wiser path. Instead of pursuing isolated, disconnected solutions to individual problems, the city's planners adopted a deeply integrated, systems-based approach to urban development. They made the conscious decision to consider the intricate interconnections between the city's various urban systems. They developed a holistic strategy that simultaneously addressed transportation, land use, and environmental conservation, understanding that all these things were part of a single, interconnected whole. One of the most famous and innovative aspects of Curitiba's approach was its bus rapid transit, or BRT system. Rather than embarking on the construction of an incredibly expensive subway system, or simply widening existing roads, the city created a highly efficient and affordable network of dedicated bus lanes and unique, tube-like boarding stations that allowed for rapid and seamless boarding. This brilliant approach not only vastly improved public transportation, but also intelligently shaped the city's urban development patterns, encouraging high-density, mixed-use growth along these new and efficient transit corridors. And this was just one part of a larger, beautifully integrated strategy. To complement the BRT system, Curitiba also implemented a series of interconnected policies. These included strict zoning laws designed to prevent uncontrolled urban sprawl, the creation of a vast and beautiful network of numerous parks and green spaces to help manage flooding and provide vital recreation areas for its citizens, and even an innovative waste management program that cleverly incentivized recycling while also providing valuable income opportunities for the city's low-income residents. The incredible success of Curitiba's urban planning strategy demonstrates several key principles for managing complex systems. First, it emphasizes the profound importance of considering multiple, interconnected factors rather than just focusing on isolated problems. Second, it shows the immense value of creative, context-specific solutions rather than one-size-fits-all approaches. And third, it highlights the long-term benefits of participatory planning processes that engage diverse stakeholders from across the community. Over time, Curitiba's integrated approach yielded truly impressive results. The city achieved significantly higher public transit usage and recycling rates compared to other Brazilian cities, while also maintaining a high proportion of green space per capita. Importantly, these remarkable improvements were achieved without triggering the kind of runaway growth or environmental degradation that is so often associated with rapid urban development. From the scale of a single city, our final case study takes us to the entire globe. and the truly remarkable story of the eradication of smallpox. This stands as one of humanity's greatest public health achievements and a remarkable triumph over complexity. The World Health Organization's smallpox eradication program, which was launched in 1967, faced a truly enormous and daunting set of challenges. These included the immense logistical difficulty of implementing a global health campaign across countless diverse cultural and political contexts, the risk of creating vaccine-resistant strains of the virus, and the potential for the disease to find refuge in isolated animal populations. The program's incredible success lay in its highly adaptive, systems-based approach. Rather than relying solely on a blanket strategy of mass vaccination for everyone, which could have quickly depleted limited resources and potentially led to the paradox of creating more resistant strains through incomplete vaccination coverage, the program employed a more targeted and intelligent strategy known as surveillance containment. This involved rapidly identifying and isolating any new cases of smallpox, and then quickly vaccinating all of the infected person's recent contacts and their contacts' in a process known as ring vaccination. This created powerful rings of immunity around each new outbreak, efficiently stopping the disease from spreading further. This brilliant approach allowed for a much more efficient use of limited resources and avoided many of the potential pitfalls. The program also demonstrated a remarkable flexibility, constantly adapting its strategies to fit local conditions and even leveraging local cultural practices and traditional healers to help gain community trust and participation. This coordinated international effort, a true triumph of systems, thinking, ultimately succeeded. In 1980, the world was officially declared free of smallpox, a disease that had plagued humanity for millennia. This success story highlights several key principles for managing complex global systems. The importance of targeted interventions over blanket approaches, the immense value of adapting strategies to local contexts, and the incredible power of coordinated international efforts. These stories, from the rewilding of a park to the healing of a planet, show us that navigating complexity is not just a theoretical exercise. It is a practical and achievable goal. As we conclude our long and winding exploration of the paradox of enrichment, we find ourselves standing at a unique and insightful intersection, a place where the principles of ecology, economics, and social policy all converge. This powerful concept, which was originally observed in the delicate, rhythmic dance of predators and their prey, has proven to be a profoundly useful and universal lens through which to view the complex systems that operate across all domains of our lives. The universal nature of these dynamics underscores the deep and growing importance of systems thinking in our increasingly interconnected world. The lessons we have learned from studying this fascinating paradox extend far beyond the realm of academic discourse. They challenge us at a fundamental level to reconsider our most basic assumptions about resource allocation, about our strategies for intervention, and about the often unseen and unintended consequences of our most well-intentioned actions. From the way we plan our cities to the way we design our global health initiatives, the principles we have uncovered in this exploration can inform more nuanced, more thoughtful, and ultimately more effective approaches to problem solving. As we move forward into an ever more complex future, the integration of advanced technologies, such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, offers us incredible new opportunities for managing this complexity. These powerful new tools, when combined with our own enduring human expertise and a deep commitment to interdisciplinary collaboration, hold the bright promise of creating more adaptive, more flexible, and more context-specific interventions. However, as we have also learned, these new technologies present us with their own new and profound challenges, particularly in terms of the deep ethical considerations we must address and the absolute need for transparency and wisdom in our decision-making processes. But ultimately, the most important lesson of the paradox of enrichment is not just for policymakers, scientists, or CEOs. It is a lesson for all of us. In our own personal and professional lives, consciously embracing the core tenets of systems thinking can lead us to more holistic, more compassionate, and more sustainable solutions. By recognizing the deeply interconnected nature of the challenges we face, both large and small, we can begin to work towards creating resilient systems in our own communities and our own lives. Systems that are able to withstand and gracefully adapt to the unforeseen disturbances that will inevitably come as we collectively face the great global challenges of our time, from the immense complexity of climate change to the persistent struggles of social and economic inequality. This way of thinking becomes not just beneficial, but absolutely essential for our shared and collective future. The universe, it seems, is full of these beautiful and intricate systems, from the smallest living cell to the largest spiral galaxy. Their profound interconnectedness is the source of both their incredible strength and their delicate fragility. And with that final thought, our exploration of this great paradox is now complete. It has been a story of caution, but also one of immense hope. A hope that with greater understanding, we can learn to act with greater wisdom. Now, let these complex thoughts gently dissolve into the quiet and stillness of the night. It is time for the world, in all its wonderful and mysterious complexity, to rest. And it is time for you to rest as well. Good night, and have the most peaceful of dreams. As we stand on the precipice of a new era in systems management, the powerful forces of artificial intelligence and big data are emerging, promising to revolutionize our approaches to understanding and navigating the immense challenges of complex systems. The very principles that have guided successful interventions in the past may soon be enhanced and transformed as these emerging technologies reshape our approach to managing complexity across every imaginable domain. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are at the very forefront of this incredible transformation, offering us unprecedented analytical and predictive capabilities. These technologies are enabling far more sophisticated approaches to understanding and modeling the complex interconnected systems that define our world, from ecology and economics to social policy. By leveraging the immense power of AI, researchers and decision makers can now process and analyze truly vast amounts of data, uncovering subtle patterns and deep relationships that were previously completely undetectable to human observers. The role of big data in this revolution cannot be overstated. As our ability to collect and store information grows exponentially, so too does our capacity to understand system behavior on a massive and intricate scale. Researchers can now analyze these massive data sets, identifying subtle correlations and hidden causalities that have eluded generations of scientists before them. This incredible wealth of information, when combined with advanced machine learning algorithms, is enabling us to predict and simulate potential outcomes in complex systems with an unprecedented and ever-increasing level of accuracy. One of the most promising applications of these new technologies is in the field of predictive modeling. Advanced AI systems are increasingly being used to anticipate those dangerous unintended consequences before they ever occur, allowing decision makers to test various interventions in highly detailed virtual environments before they are ever implemented in the real world. This capability is particularly valuable when we are dealing with systems where the stakes are incredibly high and the potential for catastrophic failure is significant. However, the integration of AI and these advanced technologies into the management of complex systems is not without its own profound challenges. Critical ethical considerations are paramount, particularly regarding the potential for hidden biases in the algorithms, the need for transparency in how they work, and the potential for new and unforeseen negative consequences. As we increasingly rely on these AI-driven decision-making processes, we must remain constantly vigilant to ensure that these systems do not perpetuate or even exacerbate existing inequalities or create entirely new ones. The future of managing complexity, therefore, lies not only in pure technological advancement, but also in the continued development of deeply interdisciplinary approaches. Experts from a diverse range of fields are increasingly collaborating to develop more comprehensive understandings and solutions to these complex problems. Current research in the field continues to emphasize the importance of those adaptive management strategies we have discussed. Strategies that can respond dynamically to changing conditions in a system. These approaches move beyond the static, linear, problem-solving methods of the past, fully recognizing that complex systems are inherently unpredictable and require flexible, iterative solutions. One area where machine learning is making truly significant strides is in identifying the complex, non-linear relationships that exist within these systems. Traditional analytical methods often struggle to capture these nuanced interactions, but AI algorithms are proving increasingly capable of uncovering the hidden patterns and dependencies that truly drive a system's behavior. This enhanced understanding allows for more targeted and more effective interventions, which can potentially mitigate the risk of unintended consequences. As we look to the future, the development of technologies that can handle increasingly sophisticated modeling, such as the creation of accurate digital twins of real-world systems, will be crucial. These advancements could revolutionize fields ranging from urban planning to global climate policy, providing decision-makers with powerful new tools to navigate complexity. Despite these promising developments, significant challenges remain. The sheer number of interacting variables and the potential for non-linear outcomes make predicting emergent behaviors a formidable task. Researchers are grappling with difficult questions of how to best incorporate human expertise and intuition into these AI-driven processes, recognizing that a purely algorithmic approach may miss critical, human-centered nuances. The future will likely involve a delicate and symbiotic relationship between human and machine intelligence. While AI can offer unprecedented analytical power, our own human judgment, creativity, and ethical oversight will remain absolutely essential in interpreting the results and crafting truly holistic solutions. As our technologies evolve and our understanding deepens, we must remain adaptable and open to new approaches, constantly re-evaluating our long-held assumptions about how systems function. This constant process of learning and adaptation will be crucial in addressing the great global challenges that lie ahead, from climate change to social inequality. By bringing together experts from fields such as computer science, ecology, sociology, and economics, we can develop more holistic and nuanced approaches to these complex problems, leading to innovative solutions that transcend our traditional disciplinary boundaries. The challenges we face will only grow more intricate, but with these continued advances, we are better equipped than ever to confront them head-on.